BlackBerry is back, baby, with its first smartphone launch of 2018, and not too shockingly, it's a sequel to last year's Key 1 handset, imaginatively titled the Key 2. Except it's Key 2 with the number 2 instead of all written out. There, bet you weren't expecting that one, were you, clever clogs? Now, it's been just over a year since the launch of the Key 1, and the Key 2 offers a subtle evolution of that original design. Stick them side by side, they basically do look very similar. However, you now get a smaller bezel above the display and ever so slightly down the edges as well. It's a little bit narrower than the old device, but very, very slightly indeed. As for the overall dimensions, it's 8.5mm thick and 168 grams, which means that the Key 2 is precisely 1mm thinner and 12 grams lighter than last year's Key 1. Again, a subtle change. Whereas last year's Key 1 evenly distributed those buttons around the chassis, the Key 2 now has all of those buttons clustered together on the right hand side. You get that volume rocker, the power button, and the convenience key making an illustrious return. As before, that convenience key just allows you to jump into the app or service of your choice. We were a little bit worried when we first got our hands on the device that you might confuse the power button and the convenience key, but thankfully the power button is ever so slightly textured, so that just helps it stand out a bit. As for the chassis itself, it's constructed from a really tough Series 7 aluminium frame. It certainly feels nice and durable. We weren't tempted to throw it around the demo room because there were plenty of BlackBerry PRs knocking around. We didn't think that would be a very well received idea, but certainly seems to be quite rugged just for more bit of poking, pushing and prodding. And you also get a nice bit of Corning Gorilla Glass action on that 4.5-inch display as well, so hopefully it won't scratch up a storm. Flip it around and the BlackBerry Key 2 has a nice textured soft touch back, which just helps to give it a nice comfortable grip when you're playing with it. And also it comes in two different colours as well. This is the silver model, and you can also pick it up in this rather stunning black hue as well. Now, of course, the BlackBerry Key 2, like the Key 1 before, it sports a physical QWERTY keyboard, and it's a slightly better, improved keyboard this time as well. It's larger than before. The keys were actually 20% larger than the previous models, which definitely gives you a more comfortable typing experience. And that keyboard is once again touch sensitive as well, so you can actually use it as a trackpad to scroll your way through a web browser if for whatever reason you don't want to just use the screen instead. And you can even flick up at certain sections of the keyboard in order to completely auto-correct while you're typing. Unfortunately, that experience was a bit hit and miss. It didn't seem very responsive to us during our hands-on session. Hopefully that will improve for the final product. We've got to admit, we're still not entirely sold on a physical keyboard. We've been using them ever since the days of the BlackBerry Bolds, things like that, and we are definitely more sold on the likes of SwiftKey and the virtual keyboards, which offer to us a faster typing experience. But we can perfectly understand that some people really do love these physical boards, and they will certainly get on with the Key 2's effort. And long-standing BlackBerry fans, hold on to your trousers, because there is one big new feature here, the first new BlackBerry key in over a decade. The speed key, which basically looks like 9 little dots, allows you to jump between applications super quickly, which means it's great for you multitaskers. All you need to do is hold it down and then press one of the other keys on the board. And when you do this for the first time, you can then assign an app to that specific key. So the next time you hold down the speed key and then tap that other key, you'll then launch straight into that app, be it the web browser, Spotify, whatever you fancy. This definitely seems like a really quick alternative to going to the apps tray and selecting something different every single time if you like to flip around between lots of different apps at once. And of course, Android Oreo has been stacked up with all kinds of BlackBerry software on top, which as usual offers a really strong user experience, especially when it comes to the security. You once again get that D-Tech security suite, which shows you if you've got any little areas of your phone that you might want to sort of tighten up a little bit, maybe strengthen your passwords, add a fingerprint to the fingerprint sensor, which by the way is once again built into that spacebar. As usual, there are plenty of little shortcuts that you can add to your desktops as well, and some really strong customization in there. So what about the overall specs? Well, it's not quite a premium device. This is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 chipset, which of course comes packed with the X12 LTE modem, and that is backed by 6GB of memory. So unfortunately, while the Key 2 can't quite match the latest flagship phones when it comes to performance and overall power, it should still happily handle everyday use. You also get a 3500 mAh cell stacked in there, so we reckon the battery life should be really good. And of course you get Qualcomm's Quick Charge 3.0 support as well, so you reckon you should be able to charge up to 50% in just over half an hour. And the BlackBerry Key 2 can also learn your charging habits, just like the Qnovo tech found on the Sony Xperia phones, just allowing it to prevent long-term damage. As for the storage, there's 64GB or 128GB depending on your choice of model, and that's supported with micro SD memory card expansion as well. Last of all, the camera tech, and you actually get a dual 12 megapixel camera slapped there on the back. That means of course the BlackBerry Key 2 can support a portrait mode in order to keep your subject nice and crisp while blurring out the background. There's no optical image stabilisation, but there is some digital image stabilisation in there to help out with low light shots and also when you're shooting video as well, and there's also a 2x optical zoom to get a little bit closer to your subject. We'll be bringing you full hands-on coverage with the BlackBerry Key 2 once we get our hands on a review sample, which should be imminently, so if there's anything in particular you would like to know, let us know in the comments down below. Stay tuned for our full unboxing, camera review, in-depth review, and everything else that you need to know. Thanks for watching everyone, love you, bye!